This is Circuit Riders.
Hey, welcome to Circuit Riders, episode N,
Episode N.
where N is a number. My name's Andrew, and I'm riding behind. I'm on a Honda CB500 FA.
And I'm on the Harley Softail Heritage Classic.
We're in Toronto, Canada, on a lovely day today. It's just becoming evening a little bit.
North of the city, kind of heading out.
Yeah, we're heading west out of the city, try to get some roads with less traffic.
And, well, I can start things off by telling you about a repair I've been working on over the past few weeks. So I repair synthesizers and studio equipment, and I'm currently doing a repair on an EML-101. So that's a Electronic Music Laboratories synthesizer from the mid-70s, and it was manufactured mostly for the educational market. So a lot of them ended up in classrooms and universities.
Did they sell a lot?
You know what? Only in the thousands.
Okay.
Oh, and something interesting about their serial numbers.
Uh-huh.
They had several models. They had like a sequencer and then a main, the 101. Like they had several models, but instead of starting a new serial number sequence for each model, they just increased their serial numbers by one every time they built something.
So you can tell sort of how many they made of each one.
Yeah, and the EML 101 came in several flavors, and like if they added like a module or like an option, they just started adding it, and it's not like it was the new version. They just kept going. Anyway, it's interesting as a repair item because there's about 3 generations of construction techniques that you can see in the synth, because it kind of spans some construction techniques that went back to the tube era. There's terminal strips everywhere, and lots of like point-to-point wiring, resistors and capacitors hanging off components just or switches and things just in midair. And also on the circuit boards, usually, well, I'm just going to mention there's another group of bikers on the run.
They're looking
it's a very popular area that we're in for motorcycling.
Yeah, and this is one of the, well, lots of people keep their bikes hibernating until about this time of the year. Keith and I both ride most months of the year, even though it's cold in Canada. But yeah, this is a really awesome weekend.
And this road is kind of good for that too.
Yep.
Anyway, so for example, the circuit boards, usually when you have a lot of wires coming to a circuit board,
you go first.
You use some sort of an edge connector, like a 24-pin edge connector or something.
Yep.
But for this, they're using this old school point-to-point wiring. So there's all these like flying wires coming from the panel and other circuit boards, all going into one circuit board, which is an inexpensive way to do it because you don't have to buy connectors.
And you don't have to route your circuit board in a way that brings all the signals to one place, which can actually, back in the 70s, would have been a bit of a challenge with no software for this kind of stuff. Hand-drawn circuit boards and things.
Yeah, and there's wires everywhere, but that makes it difficult to repair because you can't remove a circuit board without unsoldering a dozen wires or disconnecting them. The other thing that's kind of old school, kind of like second generation electronics or microelectronics is there's a lot of op amps, old 741 op amps, and they're not the dip style that you would normally expect. They're the can. It looks like a transistor, but with 8 leads instead of 3.
Right.
So this is kind of like the first generation op amps. And usually it's kind of hard to find replacements. Luckily, I have a relatively large stock of old components and things, kind of new old stock. I tend to hoard and buy that sort of stuff.
If you find things on eBay
I'm just going to replace them with like new 741s in it.
Right.
But the cool thing is on one of the circuit boards, you could tell they were future-proofing, and they actually the holes for the op amps, they arrange them in the dip package, which is what you're probably used to. Like, you know, the 741 and the typical dip package, 8 pins.
Right.
And the neat thing is because the can, where the legs are like in a circular pattern, and the dip, where the legs are in 2 rows, the pins are still numbered the same way. So it goes like counterclockwise. The numbering is the same. So they designed the circuit board to
So they just have one package outline on the board?
Yeah. So
they just sort of bend the leads out and stick them in as if they were a dip?
Yeah, exactly. So they have the dip package as the layout, even though they use the round can style,
right,
to go into it.
So,
which is kind of cool.
So you were,
so you know, they were future proofing. So in addition to the electronic repairs, this thing has 30 years of gunk, grime, sandwiches,
right,
dust in it. So in addition to the electronic repairs, I also have to work on just mechanical stuff, cleaning switches.
Now you said that you had some selector switches that basically didn't have any clicky feel anymore.
Oh,
They'd
yeah,
been turned
that was
so many times.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few rotary switches that are used to select the octave for the oscillators.
Okay.
So it has 4 oscillators, and there's an octave switch on some of them that choose like middle, down 1 octave, or up an octave.
Yep.
So there's like a 3 octave spread. And there's a soft metal ridge, and there's a mechanical piece that pops into grooves in this ridge. So there's 3 grooves, one for each selection location. But these particular switches, I'm just passing this car. I'm afraid they're going to like come into my laning.
You don't want to be in someone's blind spot. That's the #1 rule of motorcycling.
Yeah. So these switches were used so much that this soft metal with the detents, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, they've worn down, so you can't really tell where the switch is. So
and if you don't have it right in the center, it might give you some weird behavior.
Well, it's not like close before open or anything like that switch. So you could actually select multiple octaves at once, which just does something wrong.
Right.
So I actually had to file new grooves in. It worked quite well.
Now, can you get these kinds of switches anymore?
No, they were manufactured basically for this particular equipment. That's another problem with repairs, in that even if you have an electrically equivalent switch or component, it still has to fit mechanically.
Right, yeah.
So really, the only place you can find these switches is on another piece of EML equipment that you can trash.
Right.
So it's not
how
like
do you how do you do that, like in general, when you're repairing stuff? If there's stuff that's broken,
I hoard everything
that you just can't get. What do you do?
Well, even if something's kind of broken, like for example, I was repairing. I've repaired several synthes. You know, the suitcase.
Synth. Classic synth.
It's pretty classic. Yeah, it's awesome. It's very compact though, and for example, the part of the power supply, there are capacitors that are bolted to the side of the inside of the case with a ring clamp. And when you update the capacitors in the power supply, they're smaller. So you have to buy new ring clamps. But I keep all the old ones that I removed out
I see.
up to the synth. If I always give my clients the option to have the old parts back,
right?
Even just like screws and things. Most people though don't care.
They just don't know what they're going to do with that.
Yeah, and if it's from the inside, they don't care.
Right.
But yeah, I'm a bit compulsive with scrounging any pieces, even broken ones, because you never know.
Right. Yeah, you never know when you might find another one that needs it.
Yeah.
Have you ever had stuff that's so bad that it's just basically scrap, like just 4 parts, as they would say?
Yeah, I'm pretty honest with my clients. If something comes in and it's beyond repair, I will tell them.
Keep it for parts, but don't try to get it back to life.
Yeah, it's almost worth just finding another one and having this as like your emergency supply of parts.
Right.
But the EML-101, I'm almost done, but it's at that kind of melancholy stage. of the repair where I'm only going to have it for a week or so more,
and then once
I'm done,
you have to say goodbye to
I
it.
have to say goodbye. So I get to play with it for a few days, maybe do some quick videos or recording with it, and once I'm sure that it's fine, I have to give it back to my client.
Yep.
But that's the way it goes. So
you have
yeah.
a short-term love affair, and then it's time to move on, right?
Yeah, I have a short-term love affair with all the synths in my life.
Yep.
Except the core ones. I still have my original Korg Poly 6. It's the first synth I bought broken.
Uh-huh.
I bought it for $50.
Oh, wow.
And it's my first repair, and it's yeah, I'll have that synth forever. It's my favorite Poly synth.
Awesome.
Mostly for the emotional attachment.
Yep. I can understand that.
Anyway, yeah. So are we going to wrap it up? Oh, if you look behind, there's actually.
Yeah, we're being raced by some other crazy people here.
I think so.
I'm gonna catch up to you a little bit.
Okay. Are you between them and?
No. They were about to overtake me, but I think I'll show them that I'm with this other group here, meaning you.
Anyway, well, we'll continue with our ride, and I guess we can wrap this episode up.
Yeah, that's the EML-101 classic synth. Pretty popular, in trance music, you said?
Oh yeah, actually, well, I mean, God, I could keep going. The normal, it's a modular synth, but it's got all of the components are normalized.
So you can just play it when you just plug it in. The idea.
It's pretty brilliant. It's got a very complex patch matrix, even with just the knobs and the switches without patch cords.
Right.
So yeah, it's really popular with techno, and it's got because it was made for the educational market. It's very raw,
right?
Very punchy. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, this is it for this one.
Okay.
We'll see you guys again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.